Welcome to On the Point Podcast, a podcast for all things Overwatch with a heavy focus on League, discussing roster moves, weekly matchups, and holy shit, those finals, y'all.
Yeah, this was kind of nuts, and I think probably the most competitive stage playoffs that we've had in the season to date.
Yeah, this was a lot of fun to watch, and it was both great and terrible to be there regardless of which day you were there.
Yeah, a lot of ups and downs.
Yeah, so, I'm Katie, I'm the support main.
I'm CJ, I'm the tank main.
And we are going to get right into this because we once again took a several-week vacation because what is life?
Conflicting work schedules, that's what it is.
Yeah, conflicting work schedules and not enough time between all the adulting that we're supposed to be doing.
Yes.
Supposed to be. Anyway.
Okay, starting off, Stage 3, Week 4, Hangzhou Spark beats out Los Angeles Valiant 3-2. Paris Eternal takes out Paris Eternal falls to the Seoul Dynasty 3-1. Chengdu Hunters eke out a 3-2 win over the San Francisco Shock. London Spitfire suffer a 4-0 loss to a resurgent LA Valiant. The Toronto Defiant lose 4-0 to the Gladiators. The Outlaws continue their upward trend and put a 3-0 beating on the Houston Outlaws.
That was a very good day to be there.
Yeah.
Personally, as a Valiant Gladiators and Outlaws fan, it was just like, yay, I have no voice left. This is great.
Dallas Fuel comes within striking distance of beating out NYXL with a 3-2 loss. Boston Uprising takes on the Philadelphia Fusion, and Fusion carries the day 3-2. Florida Mayhem goes up against the Hangzhou Spark and is found wanting, suffering a 4-0 loss at the hands of the pink team.
Florida.
Boy.
Florida.
Shanghai Dragons take out the Guangzhou Charge 3-1. I noticed that in the section of the outline you typed, it is Shanghai BS Guangzhou Charge.
Did I say that? Okay, look, I typoed so many things while I was writing this and had to redo Vancouver was at one point Vancouver because I put an extra N in there. Like, there were a lot of typos in the initial run-through for this, because that's what happens when you do it at lunch and are typing things like Hangzhou and Guangzhou, and then you fuck up Boston. Like,
Rip.
Yep.
Anyway, Dragons beat out the Charge 3-1. Gladiators fall to the Titans 4-0. The Shock take a 4-0 victory over the London Spitfire. The Outlaws take a 3-1 win over the Toronto Defiant. And Seoul Dynasty silences the Chengdu Hunters 3-0.
So
and that's Stage 4, Week 3. Or Stage 3, Week 4.
The Defiant going 0-7 for one.
Yeah, and I think a lot of that comes down to them adding in players
smack in the middle of everything.
Yeah, and the thing is, you pick up Gods and Sharik, that's fine. And you keep in Yakpung a lot of the time, but that still means Gods needs to get adapted to the roster. Then you add in Mangachu. And then he's a new piece to get used to the roster, while they're also trying to figure out a shifting meta.
Yeah.
So there's a lot going on, a lot of balls to keep in the air, and I can't necessarily blame them for dropping a few.
Oh, no.
I think they looked better and better as the team sort of started to get used to each other. And I think we'll see how they really perform next stage, but yeah, it's not a good look so far.
Well, and I also think, like, there was such a big deal made of going 0-7 in the first stage when I think Valiant were the only team to do it.
And then Houston.
But now we're...
Yeah. Well, the thing is,
Florida's done it twice now, back to back.
The thing is, we've had 5 teams. Not individually, Florida's a repeat, but it's Houston, Valiant, Florida, and then Toronto.
I think Justice is also 0-7 this stage. They've had a lot of tied maps.
I think you're right.
I don't think they pulled out any wins.
Let me look up the standings.
My point is that having an 0-7 stage or having a low-scoring stage, I don't think is as terrible as everyone's making it out to be. It's still bad for a team to do that, but it's no longer this rare and awful thing that it's no longer the Shanghai Dragons going 0-42. Like,
well, the thing is, that was never the case in this season.
No. But a lot of it has to do with difficulty of not of maps, but of
difficulty of schedule does play a big factor. And the thing is, if you take an 0-7, that almost guarantees you don't have playoff chances anymore.
Yeah. And the first 2 stages were who is the best at goats. And this stage is the one where people are starting to go, I don't want to play goats, or, well, we can do Sombra goats, we can fold in Doomfist, or I almost called him Rascal, Batiste, or because basically they're the same thing.
Yes. And the thing that I want to point out, though, is a lot of these characters, yes, there have been some changes to make GOATs less effective and other comps more effective, but there's nothing stopping for most of this happening in Stage 2. It's just, we've talked about it before, that teams are risk-averse. They don't want to try doing, a lot of the times they don't want to try doing new things because of the potential risk that deviation presents. Especially when you see a team like Chengdu try it, and at best achieve middling results.
But damn did people love them, and still do.
Yeah, and I'm not denying that. I'm just saying that Chengdu is also a very good argument of, you can get fan support for it, but it doesn't buy you many wins. But most teams now that are kind of deviating have kind of figured out, one, how to play these alternate comps, and two, which ones suit their style of play. Like, Shanghai has a very clear approach to how they do things that works for them very nicely. And you see Vancouver struggling a bit more with that.
I mean, Vancouver's style for things working very nicely is just full-on GOATs. Like, they're super good at that.
Yeah, and
people are starting to think around that and work around that.
I think they also fucked themselves a bit on that regard, because they keep trying to alter comps in ways that I think are less than ideal. Because there were a lot of times where they do Bumper, Janu, Stitch, Haksal, Slime, Twilight, when it's like, okay, that means you're going to run the Diva and the Sombra. Why the fuck would you not have Soymin Su in instead of Janu? Because if you take if you have Diva in instead of Zarya in Sombra Goats, you lose a shit ton of your team's overall DPS. And then there was a time where they were playing that and they had Haksal on Diva and Stitch on Roadhog, and it's like,
that's weird.
That doesn't seem right to me. Like, where there were just where they had Soymin Su in, but it was Haksal on the Diva, and it was the lineup I think they should stick with is Bumper, Soymin Su, Stitch, Haksal, Slime, Twilight. And I think that's kind of, when you're playing the Sombra Goats, the version of their lineup that fits in the best.
Is those guys.
They didn't do that out in the playoffs, really, or at least not much, which to me just kind of looks like you're pointing, your sidearm down at your own foot. Like,
it makes me wonder what their bye week this week is gonna, because the bye week is this week. They're not playing until we took a bye week in time for San Diego Comic-Con. Good job, everybody.
Yeah.
How many players do you think we're gonna see at the con snapping pictures? I'm sure there will be many. But yeah, I'm wondering what the bye week and I'd love to be a fly on the wall for some of the coaching sessions for some of these teams, because it's been incredible play. It really has.
Yeah, for sure. And I think we're going to see
across the board.
I think we're going to see the top teams especially pivot into the new meta a little more. Vancouver's made some missteps, but the strength that Farah has in this metagame, I think Haksal is going to get some freedom on that, because he is known mostly for his Genji and Farah play prior to coming to Overwatch League. So I think that'll be fun to watch. Anyway, let's keep moving.
I was going to say I'll be interested to see where Shock goes from here, because we had the perfect stage last stage.
Well,
and then they dropped a few maps, they dropped a few matches, made it all the way to a map 7 here. Like, I think they're capable. I also feel like this stage, part of it was the shifting meta, and part of it was, pressure's off, we did the thing.
Yeah, I agree with that completely. And I think as they sort of course-corrected later on, and especially in the finals, I think it proved that the biggest secret to their success, despite the insanely talented roster that they have, the biggest thing that makes them as winning a team as they are is fucking crusty.
Yes.
Because you could see every halftime the Shock adapted to Shanghai's play a little bit more.
Mm-hmm.
Like, they figured it out. And frankly, if they hadn't lost that first map, they probably would have won.
Yeah. And I mean, we saw that also with, I want to say, the first stage finals, where it went back and forth, Vancouver winning the first. And
well, the thing...
every time there was a halftime, Shock did better.
The thing that it was Shock won first, then Vancouver, then Shock, then Vancouver, then Shock, then Vancouver.
And
then Vancouver smashed them on Rialto.
Yeah.
It was back and forth, back and forth, back and forth, back and forth, back and forth. But with this one, Shock lose 3 in a row.
Yeah.
And then dial in and win by a slightly larger margin in each of the following games.
They almost did a reverse sweep in a best of 7, which is bonkers.
Yeah. Anyway, we got to keep moving.
We'll
talk about this more. Atlanta homestand. Florida gets their asses kicked by NYXL 3-0. Philadelphia takes on Washington and carries the win 3-1. Toronto loses out to the home team Atlanta 3-1. Shanghai Dragons pick up a 3-1 victory over the Guangzhou Charge. The Shanghai Dragons drop Philadelphia 3-1 this time. Guangzhou Charge picks up a 4-0 win over Washington. Atlanta sweeps Florida 4-0. And NYXL has a sweep of their own against the Toronto Defiant 4-0.
So I love that the Shanghai Dragons pointed out on their Twitter, not the Shanghai Dragons, the Guangzhou Charge pointed out on their Twitter.
They're the championship makers.
That they are. Like, you want to know who's going to win? Look at who faces us twice in a stage.
Yeah.
And it's been Vancouver, Shock, Shanghai.
I was going to bring up that bit of trivia, and I'm glad that you did.
So I kind of want to, at some point when I have time in my life, go through stage 4 and see if anyone faces them twice.
Well, I mean...
Let's not do it now while we're doing the thing.
But it will take me, 3 seconds.
There's a lot of mouse clicks. That's the problem.
Fine.
We'll do it later. We got another episode next week. We need to have content for a bye-week episode.
Oh, yeah. Well, trust me, there's going to be shit happening.
Oh, I'm sure there will.
And now we get to playoffs.
Yeah.
Vancouver Titans take on the resurgent Houston Outlaws, but the Cinderella story ends here, or at least one of our two, with Vancouver sniping them 3-0.
I'm not at all surprised that this happened.
No, I'm not either.
And honestly, I'm just sitting here going, both of my green teams made it to the finals.
Yeah.
Yay!
Yeah, and I think this was kind of the foregone conclusion of all but the most die-hard, wishful thinking people.
Oh, yeah. I mean, you can hope, but even though Vancouver is no longer, the perfect team, they're still a hell of a force to be reckoned with.
Yes, and they're also a team that's going to put you on the back foot as hard as they can perpetually. And if you're Houston, a team that's biggest problem has been
initiative.
Has been not even initiative, just fucking communicating. Then when you're getting run over repeatedly and everything's fucking chaos, then that is quite possibly the worst matchup you could have.
Yeah. So again, it's sad but not a surprise, you know?
Yeah. Shanghai Dragons take on New York and sweep them aside 3-1.
Again, sad but not a surprise, you know?
No. Both because New York's choke, and because Shanghai... One thing I want to stress going into this is I think everyone kind of forgot that Shanghai, at least this incarnation, used to be Kongdu Panthera, which went to 8 maps in a best of 7 against the team that would become the Vancouver Titans. These guys...
Run away.
Yeah. These guys have an incredible pedigree of talent that that I think they're really kind of showing right now that they've kind of picked a style that really suits all of their individual abilities. I will say I was surprised to see them hit this gear right now and just carry it all the way through, but I'm not shocked by it.
Hey. I kind of want to posit a theory about NYXL, and maybe this is just me from the outside.
Okay.
But I feel like NYXL has been in so many finals and has been so consistently good for so long. I feel like the attitude for some of these teams coming in, like the Dragons, like the Valiant, like the Outlaws, is, holy shit, we're in the finals. Crank it up to 11. Let's fucking go. They're really hungry. They really want it. And for New York, it's, hey, we're in the finals again. Hell yeah. I don't want to say that New York doesn't want it as much.
I'm going to call BS because how often have we talked about them choking? And how often do they have to hear people talking about them choking? How much getting to playoffs doesn't prove anything. Winning in playoffs proves a lot to them because they can never fucking do it. So yeah. I disagree with that assessment. Because I know it would push me harder and harder, and like it did in my own experience playing in Overwatch Pretenders, where first stage didn't make playoffs, next made playoffs, the next made grand finals.
All right. How long till you destroy everyone in grand finals?
Next season.
Hell yeah. I don't know. It's hard to look at a team that is so good and has such a good pedigree and still just keeps tripping, not even at the finish line.
Yeah, but I don't think it's a matter of finding their motivation. I think maybe they kind of psych themselves out a little bit where they're too concerned about winning or losing that, on the day of, they can't quite get everything to click. But I don't think it's a matter of them not wanting it or not thinking that they have something to prove in that moment.
So it's a mind game in the other direction.
Hypothetically.
This is all hypotheticals. I also don't think anyone was expecting Shanghai to show up and pull the rug out from under everyone.
Like I said, I'm not surprised that they have this in them. I am shocked that they pulled it out right now. Or I'm surprised that they pulled it out right now, but I'm not, blown away by the fact that they could do this.
I was going to say, speaking of the shock...
Yeah, Shock takes out the Seoul Dynasty 3-1, securing their semifinal berth.
Not a surprise.
No. And then Valiant and Hangzhou have a super tightly contested series, which ends with a 3-2 victory for the Valiant.
Which is the first time that Hangzhou has ever lost a map 5.
Yeah.
Which... That was a good day to be at the arena, you guys.
Oh,
my God, we were screaming our faces off. The arena, I was only there for one of these 4 days, but just from watching people and from hearing the word perfect pickup from some of the fans on the mic, if you get the chance to go to the Blizzard Arena, just fucking do it. It's so good.
It is, although I want to point out, this is the last time that we're going to have stage finals played in the Blizzard Arena.
I know.
Fuck.
I know, and we definitely have opinions on whether or not Blizzard is ready to move everyone to their home teams, but we'll see.
Well, that's on the owners.
That is future Overwatch's problem, and when that happens, if things aren't sorted out for Houston, they're fucked.
Yeah. Shanghai Dragons take on Vancouver and pick up the 4-1 win.
I appreciated the comment about, I can't believe it. Bumper doesn't look like he can believe it either.
It was the look of someone that cut to Bumper. It was the face that someone makes when someone says something really weird and you're not allowed to, by the social conventions of whatever situation you're in, you're not allowed to, react. It's that look of, what the fuck did you just say to me?
I read it as more of the fuck just happened? Okay, so my worldview has gone sideways. It's one thing to lose to the Shock, having the perfect stage, having the perfect whatever. They're coming in with something.
I'm gonna argue against that because I know where you're going with it. They have played the core of this Shanghai roster. They know how fucking good they are.
I know.
Maybe they're shocked at the mistakes that they made that let this happen, because, frankly, I think the series came to Shanghai playing very well and Vancouver just fucking up. Because they made way more mistakes in this than they do in pretty much any other match.
That's true.
There was, 2 C9s?
Which is hysterical, because for a while we were calling that the Shang 9.
Yeah.
Because that's who it kept happening to.
Because it kept happening to fucking Youngjin.
Youngjin lives on the payload now.
Yeah. They gets fucking stapled to the goddamn thing.
Pretty much.
So, yeah. I don't know what happened, whether it was just a shifting metagame and them not being quite prepared. Maybe they over-prepared for NYXL and under-prepared for Shanghai. But they just looked fucking sloppy, and Shanghai was letting none of that pass.
Yeah, they probably did prepare for NYXL.
Yeah.
Which is a totally different
Which is a very different game. And then next we had... and I will say, though, this series was still pretty competitive. There were a bunch of maps that looked like they could go either way. The 4-1 scoreline isn't necessarily indicative of that Vancouver was just totally overmatched. What was on the other end, Shock versus Valiant.
Yeah, I don't know what we were doing.
They were throwing everything in the kitchen sink to try and break Baptiste goats, but they couldn't.
Shock is in the finals for a reason. Shock has been in the finals for the past 3 stages.
Yeah, literally every opportunity in Season 2.
For a reason. They're fucking good.
Yeah.
And I mean, Valiant is good, but they're not that good.
No.
We are still working on some shit.
Yes.
It's going better, but we're still working on some shit.
Yeah. And I think Shock really proved it in how close they came to getting the reverse sweep in the finals.
Oh, yeah.
But Shanghai Dragons take the 4-3 victory from San Francisco Shock. They go up with the early 3-0, then lose the next 3, but they keep their, mentality strong. And we now have Stage 3 champions, the Shanghai Dragons.
I feel like watching people cry in the confetti is just one of the best things.
Yeah.
It's so great.
For sure. And honestly, it's one of those things of, for me personally, them getting the win this stage was monumentally more emotional than them winning this, because I know that this team has the capability to get here, that this roster. But they had such an uphill battle to break the curse of the org, so to speak.
Yeah.
And once they did that, I no longer expected them to just never get there. It always seemed like it was possible, even if I didn't think that they were going to do it right now.
Yeah. It's the curse of the winless team is over. We no longer have a
well
winless
and truly
team.
dead.
Oh, yeah. I mean, it was after they switched players. It's still something that's going to carry on in their legacy because we have a lot of emotional investment from Shanghai fans who aren't as familiar with Contenders or Contenders Korea or any other thing that started before Overwatch League.
And they don't know what this roster is. They just know that this team has this history.
Yeah, and this is where I'm coming from. I knew nothing about the previous stuff before Overwatch League started. So when you don't have that window into those previous games, this is what you have. And this is a hell of a story for Shanghai. This is the Overwatch League is an anime story.
Oh, for sure.
There have been a number of them this stage, but this is
the biggest one.
And I realized that from 0 and 42 to stage win champions, I realized that is a fallacious narrative because it's a completely different team.
With different coaches
It's still one that you walk away with because they're still bearing the name the Shanghai Dragons.
Yeah, it's one of those things of you can harp on how different a team it is, but if you look at it the history of a major league sports team in a traditional sport, you'll have teams that have pretty much an entirely new roster within the course of a couple years that perform wildly different to one another, but you don't have people saying, well, I mean, it's not the same team anymore.
It's not the 1952 Yankees. It's okay.
Well, the thing is, people will still draw that distinction when you're talking historically. But when you're talking season to season, then again, you don't have that many teams that completely replace their roster, and the only people remaining just don't get playtime.
But you also do still have people who have been Yankees fans since 1952. And those are people who are with the organization, the colors, the real fandom is the friends he made along the way. Yeah. And this is the approach from this standpoint for Shanghai, is that it's not, we have people who don't necessarily know who the players are, don't necessarily know who Kongdu Panthera was, but threw in for Shanghai, for one reason or another, rode it out through a very, very difficult first season, and are still wearing those same red and yellow jerseys, and now get to celebrate with Shanghai wins writ large behind them in the arena.
For sure.
That is a hell of a journey just from the fan perspective.
Agreed. And I want to give 3 players in this match a big shout out for their performances, which is one, Gamsu. He kept his team on kilter, performed very well the whole time, and as a lot of people have been saying, he's on the person who should, I think, be the most clear-cut candidate for the Dennis Savelko Award this season. I want to shout out to Ding, who continually keeps proving himself the best Pharah in the world, and it is scary how effective he is in these matches against the best teams in the world, and just clowns them. And then lastly, Choi Hyobin.
Fucking Choi, man.
Choi Hyobin was destroying Youngjin and everybody else on the Roadhog when he was on Roadhog. But when it was the Roadhog duel between Choi Hyobin and Youngjin was known for his Roadhog coming into the league, Youngjin was getting decimated. It was not even close. Choi Hyobin was playing out of his fucking gourd.
Well, I mean, we know Choi as the diva, and we know him as a very, very good diva. Yeah. So seeing him flex onto another character and
he fucking was flexing.
Yeah. Yeah. I'd like to add Rascal to that. just because
Yeah.
Rascal is always so fucking good.
Oh, yeah.
And Batiste Goats is something that no one else has figured out, and he is the cornerstone of that.
Oh, yeah, and Rascal definitely deserves so much praise for his role in this as well. I'm just saying right now the three people who I think had the biggest impact on the shape of the match.
Yeah. I know there's going to be a lot of people's MVP picks have changed throughout the course of the season. I've actually seen people start putting Kareev up as one of their MVP picks, and I'm like, yes, sleep god Kareev.
I mean, on the one hand, he plays like it. On the other, he has not played nearly enough for that in my mind.
Oh, yeah, no, I know. It's been, again, with the shifting meta, you figure things out. I would put Rascal up as one of my MVPs. It's hard
Rascal,
not to include Bumper up there.
Yeah.
Just because he's fucking Bumper and Super for the same
Honestly,
reason.
you could make a lot of cases for everyone on Vancouver.
You really could.
Because Janu, I think, performs as the best Steve in the league. Bumper...
I'd fight you for Choi.
I think it's close, but I give Janu an edge. And that's not...
Like I said, I'd fight you for Choi.
And I don't think that's my team bias playing, just being the bigger Vancouver fan than I am a Shock fan. I just think Janu... How to put this? Choi Hyobin is better as the complementary off-tank in the sense that he's good at negating enemy plays and enabling his team, whereas Janu can do that and consistently lands massive bombs. Like, he has... I think the difference is Janu is just that little bit extra bit of a playmaker over Choi Hyobin. But Choi Hyobin definitely is maybe even better as a play denier.
See, I feel like for season 1, it was just run away. It was Jonak.
Yeah.
Well,
I don't even know that I agree with that, because I honestly voted for Fisher in that, because no one had, I think, as big of an impact on a team's overall performance than when Gladiators had Fisher there to make a play and had a central point to build around. I think that he had the biggest individual impact, even if Jonak's performance was maybe the most...
standout
and redefined how we kind of thought of Zen playing.
I think that's probably one of the main factors in why he got it, because it made you rethink Zenyatta as a hero.
Oh, for sure.
That's the point where you're like, oh shit, Murderbot is a valid strategy.
Oh yeah, and I am not denying that he earned a spot on that, because he did. I'm just saying you could make an argument for Fisher, and you could make an argument for a few other people as well.
See,
but those two were the standouts.
And then this season we've got like 5-6 people. People are talking about Gushue. People are talking about like everyone.
Honestly, for me, it would be probably Twilight. It would be either Bumper or Super. I think you can't necessarily overlook Gamsu definitely, I think, has earned a spot on that list by now.
And I think maybe even Ding as well.
Ding. There's a lot of people who deserve to be on that list right now. And
give us more Kareev play. He's shown us he can do it. I want to see it again. We've gone from one or two absolutely standout to... there's a lot of different options here, and they're all equally valid.
And a lot of these guys are people who weren't in League last season.
Yeah.
And have now, made a name for themselves and kind of proven that there is depth to the scene, that you can continue farming up this new talent, and it has an opportunity to really shine. And a lot of the players in the expansion teams, the thing is, the expansion teams, by and large, are not performing as well as the teams that have been around for the previous season, with the exception of Hangzhou and Vancouver.
Yeah.
But there's a lot of individual talent, even if they haven't managed to put the pieces together yet.
I say as I point to Justice.
Yeah, which we'll talk about them a little more after we get our ad read.
Just one more thing I would say in terms of Bumper versus Super for MVP.
Yeah.
I would give it to Bumper, just because I think as a player, he's the one that really... I hesitate to say redefine, because it's not the same way that Jonak redefines Zenyatta. but he's the one that made us all sit up and pay attention.
Yeah.
The corner shatters, the crazy aggressiveness, he set the tone for main tank play for the first 2 stages, I would say, of this.
Yeah, and I think Super started playing better when he started playing a little more like that.
Oh, absolutely.
Although definitely not to the same degree. I think a little more controlled.
Yes.
But
Super is crazy like Bumper is crazy.
Yeah, and
slightly different flavor, but still like, oh yeah.
They're like there's a little bit of overlap on those frequencies.
Yeah, and that's why seeing them go up against each other is so much fun.
Yeah.
And I'm looking forward to Rivalry Weekend because we get it in regular season.
Yes.
These beautiful, crazy nerds. Rivalry Weekend's going to be a fucking blast. That's actually not what the live read is for. We are not sponsored by Kit Kat Rivalry Weekend or Valiant, but shit, I wish we were.
I know, I'd take that.
Yeah, no, seriously. I'll tell you who we are sponsored by, though. Fred's BS. Breads and Spreads by Fred. Fred's BS is an LA local one-man baked goods business that offers unique flavors in small batches. Whether you're looking for homemade jams, brownies, blondies, or brown sugar buddies, the best cookies you've ever had, Fred's BS can provide. All products are made in small batches with fresh ingredients, nothing is ever frozen, and Fred provides a plethora of flavors that can't be found in stores, like the aforementioned brown sugar buddies or his strawberry peach paradise sunrise jam. Also, if you're LA local, you can choose pickup instead of delivery and get your goods even sooner. Head to fredsbs.com and use coupon code ONTHEPOINT for 20% off your entire order. That's fredsbs.com, fredsbs.com, and coupon code ONTHEPOINT. Fred's BS. Treat yourself, because you deserve it. Mm-hmm. So it's getting super fucking hot outside, and I like the idea of homemade cookies without having to make them myself.
Yeah.
Because that is a hot oven.
As someone who spent all day in the kitchen, yeah.
Yeah, so order you some cookies there. Good stuff.
Mm-hmm. Speaking of good stuff, we got news.
Yee.
First up, Washington Justice pick up Elivote and Lozish, 2 Swedish players, formerly of Team Envy and Contenders Europe. For some reason, my brain combined Contenders in Europe to Curie, and I just went like, in?
To Korean Europe, no way.
Yeah. Contenders Europe, Angry Titans, who had previously been made deep playoff runs. Elivote and Lozish are a tank duo. They were one of the big parts of Angry Titans' success. And I think shoring up the front line, which right now is the biggest albatross around the neck of the Washington Justice, could go a long way to helping. They're also English fluent, so they will be able to communicate with the rest of the roster pretty effectively.
Just that Giannis 20th and everything that was rough.
And I don't even think Giannis is necessarily the worst tank in the league, even though he is one of the worst, I think. But I think
he's also not getting the support he needs from other people.
Especially from Sansam. Sansam plays diva like the dog from Up.
Squirrel?
Yeah, squirrel! And then just goes off and chases a DPS for a few minutes, and then Giannis just gets spit roasted.
No, that's how you play Genji. Go off and do your own fucking thing.
Yeah.
I will make fun of Genji mains until the cows come home.
Yeah.
Because the cows will come home faster than the Genji main will.
Yes. But yeah, Elivote and Lozish, I think, will be a big step forward into making a Washington Justice team that can take more than one win a stage.
We're going to wind up with a completely different Justice team like we wound up with a completely different Shanghai team.
Except it's going to happen before the season's over.
Hey!
Although they're still playing auto, so...
Yeah, and I mean, people are making comments about, are they trying to go full Western? Like, no, they're trying to go full competent.
They're
guys.
slow, yeah, pretty much. Although, I'm going to argue against them going full competent for a second because they still swap in Guido. There's no... I genuinely cannot think of a reason why I would want Guido in over Sleepy. I cannot think of one.
I'm sure there's some idea about, well, such and such a person fits in the meta better than Sleepy does, which is why he got traded from the Shock in the first place. But Sleepy's better.
I'll admit
overall.
That maybe Wizard Hyung sees something that I don't because I am not myself a wizard.
I was going to say, and Wizard Hyung is a wizard.
Yeah, but I don't fucking see it. I'm straight up calling that a bad decision. Anyway.
And I'm not going to pretend that I know.
Sleepy is better than Guido in every metric and also doesn't panic ult.
Sleepy's fun. Have you watched his stream ever?
A little sleepy scream, like whenever he gets pressured.
Yes, he's such a fucking nerd. I love him.
No, I love him.
He's
great.
He's also the only Overwatch streamer who's even come close to getting my handle right without being told how to pronounce it. So, fucking props, dude.
Fair. Speaking of acquisitions, Boston Uprising picks up Stellar, formerly of the Toronto Defiant, who allegedly said to Toronto that he was ready to come back and wanted to return and all that, but was informed that their roster is now full. And so,
Toronto's been picking up a lot of people, so...
Yeah, and so Boston does what Boston does and goes, yoink. And they now have picked up Stellar, who, I'll admit, I didn't know all that much about him prior to the Overwatch League, so I can't say too much. But his Brigitte was a huge part of that Stage 1 success for the Toronto Defiant. And I'm curious what role he's going to play in the team right now, considering the DPS players that they do have, especially with the upcoming possibility of 2-2-2 role lock, if that becomes a thing. And if that becomes a thing, I don't know how much Brigitte will see.
I'm assuming it will, and I'm hating the idea. Because there's so much flexibility in the meta as it is right now that it destroys the thing that it was meant to create. I will also say that after the Outlaws were knocked out of the quarterfinals, Jake tweeted, "That's the last Brigitte I'll ever play." So,
which,
and then Fisher straight up said it. So, but who knows?
But Fisher's a troll and also leaving. But
and I feel like there's enough in terms of NDAs and whatnot that still apply.
That you would get in trouble
if
you said that.
Yeah, that doesn't always stop people, but that doesn't necessarily mean you should.
Yeah.
And I feel like Fisher would have faced well, they wouldn't make the repercussions public so as not to make it obvious that, yes, he was telling the truth.
Yeah.
Who knows? Who even knows? We'll find out on Thursday.
Anyway. Yeah. Well, yeah, that's another bit of news. There's a special announcement on stage...
Announcements.
Thank you for derailing my train of thought. Special announcement about Stage 4 on Thursday, which a lot of people are speculating that it's about the 2-2-2 roll lock. We shall see about that.
Yep. I hope not, man.
I fucking hate the idea of it right now.
Yeah. At the end of Stage 2, I would have been like, fuck yeah, let's go.
If you're going to implement a huge change like that, do it at the halfway point where teams have a long time to adapt to it, or put it between seasons. Doing it in the middle of the season is stupid. Can you imagine if MLB, just in the middle of the season, said, oh yeah, you can only have 2 outfielders, when they've already played like 60 games?
Or like if football said, no more tackling, we're done tackling, which they should absolutely do, but it's something that would need to, like, the passing game had to be fucking proposed by the president at the time. So, yeah. It's
dumb as hell.
Yeah, I really do think that tackle should be taken out of football. But yeah, the announcement might be, we're implementing this for Season 3 to give people time to get used to it.
They wouldn't have said it's about Stage 4 then.
That's true.
I think that this is dumb, and I will continue to express my frustration about doing this now and during the season and not afterwards. Like, a patch change is one thing. Yeah. Shifting what is effective slightly can have a big effect, but it's not ultimately changing the basic rule of how you play the game.
Yeah, this is, who knows? It might not be about that. We don't know. All signs are pointing to that, but it's possible that all signs are wrong or trolling us or whatever. And let's be real, when does Overwatch League make good organizational decisions? We're already looking at we're moving everyone home for Season 3.
Well, that was a thing a while ago, and a lot of teams are at least preparing for that. That's not necessarily a bad organizational decision, and frankly, I think it's one of the better ones they can make right now, considering the dwindling attendances of the Blizzard Arena, just because, guess what? If you have something somewhere 4 days a week for, like, 20 plus weeks out of the year, people will eventually stop going just because you've seen it. You don't feel the need to spend money and time to go and do it.
That said, I think they could have ramped it up with more away weekends. We haven't quite had one a stage, but they have been huge hits.
Yeah.
Have more travel weekends. Do your first travel weekend in China. I think that traveling American
China's
and Korean
be,
teams in and out of China is going to be a nightmare that no one is actually prepared for.
especially if Trump is still president.
Yeah, this is also kind of the point where we all kind of point at Jichirin and go, how long did that take?
Literally as long as it would have taken him to swim.
Yeah.
Like,
So I think that is madness that no one is prepared for,
anyway,
honestly.
Speaking
But that's that.
Speaking of China, Guangzhou making some moves in the off season. Off stage.
In the bye week.
In the bye week.
Pretty much.
They have traded Kib to Philadelphia in exchange for my boy Yun Fragilane.
You think they'll play him?
They fucking better. They fucking better. You do that, I'm gonna buy one of your jerseys, Guangzhou. If not, you're on my shit list too.
If not, the jersey gets burned. No, that's still money going to Fanatics, and fuck them.
And they also acquire Bishu from Gladiators for cash. And I think Fraggy and Bishu, it's a pretty fucking badass front line.
Yes! Also, they have acquired two extremely popular players
Yes.
who have not had the opportunity to play as much this past stage. This is going to bring a lot of people, a lot of fans to Guangzhou.
Yeah, me
and
included.
I mean, they definitely weren't suffering for fans in China. Evidently, they threw a watch party for one of their matches in Guangzhou, and they filled a mall. So they're not hurting for fans at home, but out here, it's just kind of like, oh yeah, Guangzhou. They're playing some games. Don't they have Shu on their team?
Mm-hmm.
Who else do they have? Like, they're kind of a non-entity.
Yeah. And I think this goes a long way to the popularity, but I also think this is a move that can help them as a team, because Fraggy, good main tank who I think has a really good strategic mind for the game. You have Bishu, who is a really good diva player, but he's also really good at... basically, when Fisher was on Gladiators, Bishu was translating shot calls real time between English and Korean while still playing at a very high level.
Yep.
And now you have 3 English-speaking members in Fraggy, Bishu, and Nero. And you have technically 4 Korean speakers in, whichever other members of the team they have in at the time, and Bishu. And I think that this is a move that could really help their team cohesion, while also enabling, like, if you have a Reinhardt composition, you can do very well with Fraggy.
Oh my god, yes. It's kind of a shame that Philly stopped playing him. He came out for the team day, and that was it?
Yeah, I know. I'm still salty, and this is why my Philly jersey has sat untouched in my closet for all of Stage 2.
Oh.
For all of Season 2.
Ooh. Gonna need to get yourself a Guangzhou jersey, huh?
Yes.
With the Fraggy name?
Mm-hmm.
Hell
And
yeah.
if they play Fraggy, that friggin' Philly jersey's going to the Goodwill.
You could probably resell it. It's a Season 1 Philly jersey, which means it's quality.
Fair enough.
Yeah.
Anyway, speaking
there's that.
of Season 1, we have 2 players from Season 1 who are now retiring in the form of Fisher and Kuki.
What I find hilarious is that Fisher retired, I don't remember if it was the day of or the day after we recorded our last episode.
The day of.
It was a thing. Like, we recorded and we had that long, big conversation about dwindling popularity and going to a team that wasn't playing him as much and shifts in the meta and just how things probably weren't as good for him as they were on the Gladiators and on London and whatnot. And then 2 hours later, he's like, yeah, I retired, and also 222 roll lock. And we're sitting here going, oh my fucking god, it's always when we record.
Who's more of a fucking... I was going to look for a word that basically summed up, fucks up your plans than Fisher.
Spanner in the works.
Who's more of a spanner in the works than Fisher? Fucking
no
nobody.
one!
Fucking nobody.
That's the call and response for Fisher. Kuki, I'm not surprised.
No.
After what happened on the Valiant, after being the one to, I hesitate to say, like, being the one to lead them to the 0-7, because that's not true, but he was put in a role that was not his own.
He had the Zachary syndrome, where he got blamed for it.
Yeah, people need to lay the fuck off of Zachary. Keep in mind, he's still, like, 19. He's a
He
kid.
literally
Shut
finished.
the fuck up.
He literally graduated from high school during the season.
Yeah, he walked out on the stage in his robes and T-posed. It was the cutest goddamn thing
Yes.
ever. It was like, yay, you did it!
Also, his mom's a sweetheart and took a picture of me after I spent the entire first week of Overwatch League this season just marking out for Dallas.
Zachary's mom is
She
the
is
goddamn.
an angel.
Like, Zachary's mom, Hydration's mom, there's like four
All
or five
the Overwatch
Overwatch
League
moms
moms.
on
Sleepy's mom.
Twitter. Sleepy's mom. There's like 4 or 5 Overwatch League moms on Twitter, and they are an absolute delight. Mangachu's mom,
Yeah.
who just tweeted finally after he got signed. Like, yeah, no, they're good humans. Stop making Zachary's mom sad. Stop being a dick. Cool your fucking jets. Also, he's like 19. Lay off.
He's 19 and he's
Jeez.
probably better than you.
Oh, he's 19 and he's absolutely better than you.
My point is, whether or not that they did contribute somewhat to their team's record, whether or not they played as well as you could in their position, Kuki got a lot of the criticism was centered on him, which I can understand how fucking demoralizing that must be.
Oh my god, yes. And he was, from the start, he was put in a role that was not his own, and everyone kind of went, where's Custa? You're a tank main playing support. You're not going to be as good as a support main playing support. Why is this happening?
And also, when you have tank problems on your team, and you don't turn to the other guy who's known for that role and instead hire someone new, man, that has to make whoever's stuck on that bench feel like the drizzling shits. That has to make you feel awful.
Yeah. He's just like...
If you don't even get a chance to do what you were ostensibly hired to.
And I mean, he had a terrible first stage. They all did.
But he was playing
again,
on fucking Lucio as well.
which is not your main character. It's like coming up to me and going, hey, you want to play Widowmaker? And I'll be like, no.
I mean, I'm a
No,
big dude,
fuck
but I'd be
me.
fucking terrible at ice hockey because I can't goddamn skate. It's not in my skill set, much like him and Lucio.
Yeah, he was given a really, really rough go of it. And then, yeah, they hired Fact. And I'm very grateful for the fact that they hired Fact.
Oh,
Let's
I
be
am
real.
too, and also
he's good.
I've been a big fan of Fact for a long time, and I'm very happy to see him back in the Overwatch League.
Him and Shax, and I can't wait to actually see McGravy play.
Yeah.
He's fun, but like you can also kind of tell who's, I hesitate to say in vogue for the Valiant because that's such a weird way to term it. Kuki never showed up in any of their social media stuff.
Yeah.
He was never on the social media except for with the team.
And
he was never in any of their videos. I mean, KSF even does their trivia videos, and we don't always see a lot of KSF.
And that could partially be just
Preference.
because of Kuki's own preference, but
Yes.
it does say something when he's not part of the team's image in any meaningful way.
Yeah.
Like, say what you will, again, just I hate to go back to this example of another player who got, maligned, but Zachary still shows up in a lot of Fuel content.
Yeah. And I feel like part of that is, the fans only ever saw him on this role that wasn't suited for him, and not seeing him in gamer snacks or trivia or ping pong deathmatch or whatever, like never seeing him anywhere else. We have no other context to place him in, except in this strategy that isn't working, and is ostensibly not his fault, because I'm sure he didn't choose to do this.
Yeah.
But it still comes down to, why do we have Kuki as a support? What the hell are the Valiant doing?
Also, the other thing I want to point out, the majority of Overwatch League fans that I've met in real life are very good people and are not toxic assholes.
The internet is shit.
The internet is a fucking cesspool.
Whoa!
The internet is a goddamn cesspool. People are out there making fucking death threats. People are out there, constantly spewing vitriolic hate, blaming people for everything. And I'm sure, even though I didn't hear about any of it directly, that at least some of that came Kuki's way.
Oh, I'm sure a lot of it came Kookie's way.
Mm-hmm.
People, the worst thing about going on Twitter after your team loses, the worst thing is seeing all of them coming up and saying, "I'm so sorry, I failed, I'll do better," knowing that they played their ass off regardless.
Yeah.
The second worst thing is seeing all the assholes in the comments going, "Hey, why'd you do this? Hey, you were terrible," armchair shot calling. Which is like, you don't know.
And it's not even armchair shot calling. A lot of it is just not. Here's the thing. I remember, and we're going to talk about this in a little bit, but
yeah,
on the post about James stepping away from social media and all of this, because he's been dealing with a lot of the shit that we've been talking about, and I suppose I'll kind of dovetail these two together right now. Well, honestly, it wasn't even intended as a segue. This is just relevant.
Yeah.
But James decided to step away from social media, YouTube, and streaming and all that for mental health reasons. He posted a very long and articulate and emotional twitlonger on his journey to what he's doing now, and the shit that he's gone through and all the stuff that's happened over the course of this season, and dealing with all the hate that he kind of gets for being someone who is outspoken and talks some crap. And whenever Dallas performed badly, you just get this white noise wall of fucking vitriol. He mentions getting these comments that are just so vicious and mean-spirited. And there was one post I remember seeing on the Reddit thread about this twitlonger where someone, where basically, you know when you see that, you're going to see a lot of people that voice genuine sympathy and well wishes, but you're going to see a few vocal douchebags who come out there and just prove the point. Mm-hmm. And someone said, like fucking good riddance or something along those noises, or call them a drama queen or what the fuck ever. And someone said that someone responded to that post by saying, like, "You're a fucking asshole. This dude is not doing well mentally, and you're a dickhead for fucking saying this." And the guy said, "Oh, he's engaged the mental health shield and is now immune to all criticism." Here's one thing I'm going to say right now, as someone with depression, anxiety, who is on the autism spectrum, and has a whole lot of other issues of my own that I deal with every fucking day. There's a huge goddamn difference between good faith criticism, which a lot of people, myself included, have gotten a fair share of it in life and can accept it and work with it and grow from it, and just being an asshole, just being mean-spirited and critical without fucking comment.
Kicking someone when they're down.
Yeah.
Just for the sake of kicking someone. And
that's what so much of this is. Because if you just say, he's dog shit, bench him or fire him.
Not helpful.
Even if you're right, let's just say, for the sake of argument, even if you're right, the person you're saying that about is a human fucking being who wants to be there and wants to do well, and is probably kicking themselves harder than anybody else can.
Oh, yeah.
And the more you pile onto that, the worse they fucking feel. Like, I know that, like, normally I'm not the one who pops off about shit, but this gets on my nerves so fucking much. Because, yeah, you can criticize people. That's fine. Be a fucking human being about it and understand that they're people. That this shit affects them. That they see it. Because how many times do you see players on stream or on Twitter talk about fucking Reddit threads? They're gamers too. They're nerds too. They see this shit. They deal with this shit.
So fucking stop it.
Yeah. Have a fucking heart. Like, be a goddamn decent human being, and imagine yourself being in that position. Imagine if you're in a position where you just have to deal with an echo chamber of people telling you constantly that you suck. Telling you constantly that you're not fucking worth the spot that you're in. This thing that for a lot of these people, have put everything else that you could be doing in life on back burner. That you've left your fucking home country and your family to go do. Look at fucking Taimu's post about his experience playing in Apex, where he spent months on end in a fucking hotel room, just playing Overwatch, isolated from friends and family outside of his immediate teammates. The fact that he developed a fucking drinking problem doing it. Take a fucking second and think about the experiences of these other human beings. Because, yeah, I'm sure that this is great in a lot of regards, being here. But every time someone fucks up, if you're a competitive person, or if you're just a human being, odds are there is nobody that notices your mistakes or feels more strongly about them than you do. And that's all I gotta say on this.
That is how human brains work. And I know before anyone makes this argument, and I say this like the people who listen to this podcast aren't really good human beings.
Yeah, all of you, by the way, who
y'all are good humans. We like you.
All of you who have listened to this and who I've seen comment on it and stuff, you're cool. Like, honestly, I don't think any of you guys are the people doing this. This is just something that really gets under my skin, and it's hard for me not to blow up about it.
Oh, absolutely. And there's an argument, and it's a terrible one, but there's an argument that the human brain is not wired for this much interaction. There's the monkey sphere thing, where your brain can only consider about 150 other people as humans, and everyone else is just kind of out there, which is why you have such a weird moment, like when you're in public and you just have that realization that everyone around you has their own lives and thoughts and dreams and whatnot, and it hits you like a ton of bricks. That's because your brain's not wired to think about people like that, because you can't handle it.
You're also just not made to think about anything in that sort of scale.
Yeah. Your brain cannot handle it. There's only so much capacity for the wetware.
Yeah, take a second and try to imagine the number 100,000 in objects.
No.
Try and picture 100,000 of literally anything. It could be as simple as just like try and picture 100,000 apples. And I guarantee you, your brain cannot accurately picture that.
See, the cheap way is to picture a beach, but then your brain is thinking of it as singular, a beach, and isn't thinking about millions of individual grains of sand.
Yes.
So it's that. And that's why we have societal structures and things like charity and religion and things that help you care about other human beings in a larger context. They're meant to circumvent that limit in the brain. So while there is a biological argument for, you can't really consider everyone on the internet as a person, your brain's not wired for it. Yeah, fuck that shit. Assume that... Put yourself in their shoes. Consider yourself as a person and go, would I like someone saying this to me? And the answer is no.
Yeah.
I lived through the Voltron fandom and I got a fraction of this shit. So I'm going to go with, no. It fucking sucks.
Yeah.
So don't. So just don't.
And
I will say I will say that I've never been fond of Jane as a person. I've also never felt the need to tell him that.
Well, also, I will say, is your primary exposure to him his Twitter?
Yeah.
Then I'm going to say you have such a limited picture of what he does for people in this scene.
Oh, absolutely. Like, all I've seen is the trash talk and the yelling, and I never really liked that, so I just kind of went, you know what, let's not interact, let's step away.
If you watch his stream and look at, like, sort of the stuff he does with Elo Hell and all that, he's a really positive figure who has done a lot to help people in this scene get better and improve, and has, like, there's a lot of people in the scene, from the amateurs to the pros, who have nothing but good things to say about him and what he's done to help them.
Yeah.
And if I'd recommend honestly looking at this twit longer if you haven't already. Just because
I did. I read it.
He talks about the impetus for a lot of that.
I viscerally recoiled when he said that he read everything.
And he does.
Because that is, I know, and that is so bad for you. And I say that as someone with just fucking train wreck syndrome who will go back and reread things. It's not...
Oh, yeah.
It's not always healthy. And I'm not blaming him. I'm just saying I saw that, I read everything and went, oh, God, people are going to take advantage of that. Oh, no.
And even if they're not actively trying to, the effect is there.
Absolutely.
Anyway, just to wrap up this hugely negative and depressing and angry bit.
Be nice, assholes.
Yeah, I was going to say Kooky, Jane, and Krusty, who tweeted about needing to go back to Korea and see a doctor about some stress-related illnesses from just how hard he's been working and the desire to perform with how well his team has been doing. And it's just needed to, like his health has sort of come into the question recently. We just wish all of you the best.
Yes.
Like, regardless of whatever people are saying, there's a lot of people out there who are pulling for you and want you to succeed and want you to do well and be happy.
Yes. Seriously, guys, take care of yourselves.
Yeah.
And all y'all out there, take care of each other. Be good.
Seriously.
If you see someone being an ass, see if you can't get through to them. Tell them to maybe chill out a little bit.
Call them out or talk them down.
Yep. Yep.
I'm obviously not going to say do that in every situation all the time because nobody has that mental bandwidth.
Well, it goes against rule number 1. Take care of yourself.
Yeah. But just take a second and just think about it and the implication and the effects that it has on people.
Does it need to be said? Does it need to be said by you? Does it need to be said in that manner? And does it need to be said now?
Yeah, pretty much.
Yeah, all those things. And if the answer is to any of them, don't say it. Even if it's not no, even if it's just kind of a high-pitched question mark, don't do it.
Yeah.
That is how you survive the internet, and that is how you not be an asshole. You think about your words before you hit tweet.
Yeah.
I want to do a lighter note before we go into predictions.
I was also going to say, do we want to save predictions for next week when we're a little closer to it? Because there might be some additional news, but not a whole lot. We might need to save some of that content.
I was going to say, with the way our schedules are going, there's no guarantee we'll record next week.
You know what? That's fair. So,
before we go into predictions, that video that we were in dropped.
Yes! So if you want to see what we look like and how fucking fat I look in my Vancouver jersey.
Dude. Really? Dude.
I'm mostly joking. Like...
we were in, there is an Overwatch Superfans video.
Yep.
And for those of you who've been watching for most of this past stage, you saw the one with the gladiators where they snip about 15 seconds of it and then they say, go here to watch the rest of it.
Yeah.
Well, they did another one, and I'm in it. And we're in it.
Yeah, I cameo.
So, yeah. Because they're like, what else do you do as a fan? And I'm like, let me tell you about this podcast. So we in it. I will put the link in the description down below so you guys can go watch it and say things and share it with your friends. And I'm very happy with how it turned out.
Yeah.
And
yeah,
I guess...
I am too.
Yeah, it aired, and one of the clips they showed was one of the clips at Guildhall, because they filmed it in Guildhall.
Yeah.
And I guess all of Guildhall went fucking crazy when that happened.
I imagine fucking so, yeah.
Because Beth is in it, and Beth was there working, but, you know, she was looking somewhere else and not up at the screen, so everyone just erupts and goes, Guildhall was in the video! What? Yes, that. That thing we filmed 2 months ago.
Yeah, that happened.
Yeah, that thing that was filmed the day of the Stage 2 finals.
Mm-hmm.
So that's out. So watch that, because it has us, and also Alex and Bella, who are lovely human beings whom
Yes.
I adore.
Yeah, they're good people.
Oh, they're so good.
I don't know them as much as you do, but like the brief interactions that I've had, they're very good people.
They're pretty damn great. Alrighty, watch that, and let's do predictions.
All right, Houston Outlaws versus Paris Eternal.
Outlaws.
Outlaws.
Wow. How the turns have tabled.
I have nothing against them. I have said repeatedly, I have nothing against them. I'm just frustrated by seeing the constant mistakes.
Honestly, I think they're doing better, and Jake tweeted to, I cannot remember who it was, I think it was someone on the Defiant saying, hey, if we can improve this much despite having no roster changes...
I thought that was Raucous.
Was it Raucous?
I thought that was Raucous to the Defiant account.
I just kind of attribute everything nice to Jake because he's such a good boy.
You should not watch his streams from a while back then.
I know. Well, people change. I've been watching his recent streams where he actually sits down and tells you why he makes the decisions he does in terms of plays and whatnot. And they're
there's a
very
difference between
educational.
there's a difference between educational streams and actual gameplay streams.
That this was both. He was in
fair
comp.
enough.
Anyway, so yeah, they tweeted to the Toronto Defiant like, look, if we can improve this much with no roster swaps, limited coaching, and no money, you guys can totally pull it out next season, next stage. So yes, they're good boys.
Yeah.
And I like them quite a bit. Speaking of good boys.
Gladiators versus NYXL.
Probably NYXL.
Yeah, but I don't want to write the Gladiators out because if 222 Rollout comes through, that can change a lot. Especially with Surefour and Decay on that roster.
Yeah. However, I think that NYXL, after choking in the semis again, is going to come out screaming.
Yeah, and here's the thing. You now have an unleashed potential for Sabiel B, Pine and Flower on top of Nene.
Yeah. So again, regardless of whether we have 2/2 lock or not,
And,
I
Libero,
think,
the fucking flex god.
yeah. I think that NYXL is going to come out screaming just because, like, every time we see it, when one of the bigger teams loses, their next match they turn around and they just completely steamroll their opponents like they've got something to prove.
Yeah.
I think that's what we'll see here. Much as I love the Gladiators and believe in them, I think that NYXL very much has the capacity for... I don't think it's going to be a curb stomp. I think it's going to be a hell of a match.
I think so, too.
But I think NYXL is going to be just frothing at the fucking bed.
I will say one other thing, just because Sid and I talked about the Gladiators a bunch the other day, which is, at present, aside from Decay, they don't really have someone who fills the role that Fisher had, in the sense of they are a fucking playmaker. They initiate and make shit happen, and it's not just the rest of the team having to wait until someone kind of does something or just play it out normally. And maybe Unleashed Decay can be that, but NYXL has a lot of those.
Oh, yeah.
Up next, Guangzhou Charge versus Philly.
That trade was confirmed, right?
Give me Guangzhou.
Yeah, that's kind of what I'm thinking.
Here's the thing. Philly, with Carpe and EQO, probably going to win. I'll qualify it in that. If you unleash those two, that's a huge edge over most teams in the league.
Carpe's terrifying.
However, you guys bench Fraggy all season. See what happens.
Look at you voting with your heart like I do. Look
I
at you.
am voting with my fucking hate.
Look at
That
you.
is what I am. It is not. It is
and
not.
Hate lives in your heart.
That's the most.
I really don't need to make that the title of this podcast, but shit, son.
That's the most cutesy Emperor Palpatine thing I've ever heard. That's the title, cutesy Emperor Palpatine.
Actually, currently the title is I Myself Am Not a Wizard.
Fair
Which
enough.
I think is the keeper.
Yeah, fair enough.
But yeah, hate lives in your heart, and look at you voting with your heart.
Hate, like groove, is in the heart.
Can you imagine just singing that? Hate is in the heart. Wow, that went places. Shanghai Dragons and Vancouver Titans, the rematch.
Yeah.
We have Shanghai off of a championship with something to prove, and Vancouver off of a loss to Shanghai with something to prove.
Can I just...
Flip a coin?
Can I just, instead of voting, just say spooge? Like, that's about it.
Just like any cigarette after that match.
Yeah.
Damn.
Yeah.
I'm actually going to give it to Vancouver. Going with the same teams that come out screaming after a loss. Especially since they will have had that extra day to watch what Shanghai pulls out against Shock, who plays relatively similar to Vancouver when they're not using Rascal Batiste.
Well, Shock also played a lot of bunker, and it did well. The thing is,
that's true.
My big thing, and the reason I think I'm going to go with Shock here...
Shanghai?
Shanghai, sorry.
Shock is going to win a match they're not even in.
The reason I think I'm going to go Shanghai with this, despite the fact that I want Vancouver to win, is how much of the finals were played with Shanghai on 2-2-2. With the Orisa Hog, Farah, either Sombra or Sombra, and then Mercy on.
Either Sombra or Sombra?
I thought I said... Sorry. Sombra or Widow.
That's it. You straight up said with either Sombra or Sombra.
I'm just messing up all my words today.
I mean...
the Sombra or Widow, and then Anna Mercy. They have... With what they're doing right now, they don't really need to make any adjustments if 2-2-2 happens. And if that happens, Vancouver, who seems to be a little slow to figure out the ideal way to play things... again, at least in my opinion, that could hurt them.
Yeah.
Though I do think that if they adapt quickly, they do have the individual talent, especially because a bunch of people have talked about it, but Vancouver themselves haven't made an announcement about them picking up TZ, who is a Korean main tank who actually used to play for Runaway, and then who bounced around between XL2 and a bunch of other contenders teams, and has done very, very well and been one of the better parts on any team he's on. So if they have picked up TZ, That could help a lot because I think he could probably be a little better with the Orisa than Bumper. Again, we'll see how it goes. It's one of those things of, with 222, I give a slight edge to Shanghai. Although I do want Vancouver to win because they're my team.
See, I'm not going to make
Or one
any
of
of
my
these.
teams.
I'm not going to make any of these bets with the assumption that 222 is going to happen. And if they do announce it, fuck it, we'll come back and we'll redo it.
Fair enough.
I'm going off of what we have versus hypotheticals. And speaking of what we have versus hypotheticals, Toronto Defiant versus Washington Justice, I'm going to take the sucker bet on this and say Justice. Because Justice loops in a new player and improves exponentially. We saw
It's
it
true.
with Sleepy.
It's true. The one thing is, will they have everyone integrated enough to compete with Toronto that's been able to integrate all of their new players? Because,
They might not. Sleepy integrated
Yeah.
really well the first day they had
Yeah.
him in that game against the Valiant.
Yeah.
It wasn't enough, but it was a noticeable difference.
I think I might
think they're
vote for
capable.
I might vote for Washington in this one as well.
Holy shit. I think
I
they're
don't want to
capable.
vote against Gods because I love him, and also I think Yakpung has become a fucking animal over the course of this stage. Like, this dude is a fucking beast. And if you watch a lot of these games, it almost looks like Yakpung like, hey, maybe we win this map. And the team just goes, nah. And he just goes, all right, fair. But despite, like, he lands a lot of huge plays. And I came into this season not expecting much from him because I'm used to him being a middle-of-the-table tank in, like, the Korean scene. But he has shown up. And this is very close, and I'm only giving it to Washington by a very small margin. Toronto
Yeah.
very realistically could do it.
I would love to see Washington be a bigger
Mm-hmm.
player, and they have more tied maps than anyone else in the league, and they very rarely go a match anymore without getting a tie or at least one win.
Yeah, they're improving.
They are. And like I said, the day they brought in Sleepy, they improved exponentially just because they brought in Sleepy and it was
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
that much better. We got 2 new tanks that you say work really well together and are a really solid
Yeah.
tank line. Let's fucking go. Let's fucking go. So that's what I figure for that one. Fuel versus Spitfire.
I'm
a
good.
hard
I'm gonna
one.
realistically say Spitfire, but the thing is, I want Dallas to win so badly, and I think if they just keep Taimu in, they can do it because he looked with him in the NYXL game. He looked so good, and his team was really able to make the most out of every play that he kind of made. I think he has that sort of like playmaker X factor.
And they brought him to a tiebreaker map, which is
Yeah.
pretty damn good for going up against NYXL.
Yeah, fuck it. I'll say Dallas.
See, and for me, I keep making this joke and then it keeps being true. Depends on which London is going to show up.
Yeah,
Because I know we talked about how that's not as much of a factor anymore, and then they got fucking swept twice in a weekend the last time they played.
again,
So-
if 222 comes in though, and you can unleash Prophet and Birdring, that's fucking scary.
Oh, yeah. But again, we're speaking in hypotheticals there, and I'm going
Yeah.
with... I will still go with London, and I will pull a Targaryen and flip that coin,
Yeah.
and we'll see.
Soul Dynasty versus Shock. I'm going to give it to Shock.
I mean, Dynasty's been good, Dynasty's been better, Dynasty is not at the level of Shock.
Yeah.
They need to do that thing where they keep up their level of play.
I'm sorry, Lauren Hill.
Attempts were made.
Yeah.
They need to keep up their level of play,
Yeah.
because we know that they can kind of fluctuate depending on the day. But if they
They've
can
been
do
pretty
that, they
consistent
can.
lately.
Yeah, I think they could handily take Dynasty.
Yeah. Philadelphia Fusion versus Chengdu Hunters. I'm going to give it to Philly.
Chengdu.
Eternal versus Valiant.
Valiant.
Uprising versus Guangzhou.
Man, again, it's hard to tell with the 2 new acquisitions for Guangzhou.
Well, also,
I give it to Uprising because they've been fairly consistent.
I might give it to Guangzhou just because I feel like their DPS are going to be stronger, and if 222 comes through, that's going to be a big factor.
You're still voting on hypotheticals.
I am voting on what else can I do?
Look at records and who's playing right now.
Yeah, and that's what I'm doing. Why I'm saying that I think the DPS on Guangzhou are going to be stronger,
I'm still gonna go with Uprising.
and I'm going with Guangzhou. I'm
right.
just saying I'm not pulling shit out of nowhere. I know a lot about these teams.
I know.
That's why I'm here, damn it.
We have Mom and Dad Are Fighting, otherwise known as the Gladiators versus the Outlaws.
Gladiators.
Yeah, probably Gladiators.
Atlanta Reign versus Hangzhou Spark.
Spark. I mean, Atlanta Reign is known for their crazy-ass upsets.
It's true.
But I think, again, Spark has something to prove after losing to the Valiant for the first time in a Map 5.
Yeah. Up next, Shanghai versus Seoul.
Shanghai.
London versus Toronto. London,
but again, it's going to depend on which London shows up, because if Toronto has improved as much as we think they will have over these 2 weeks, then I could see Defiant taking it.
Yeah.
Provided that, 04 London shows up as opposed to 4-0 London.
Yeah. Vancouver versus Florida. Vancouver,
Florida, honey.
And then lastly, Boston versus Chengdu.
Yeah, Chengdu.
This is hard.
Do I need to get a coin for you to flip?
I'm gonna flip the comically large thing. It's gonna make a loud noise.
All right, here we go. Right next
for
to the
record,
mic.
you remember
Here.
the Overwatch short with Reinhardt, the Honor and Glory?
Yeah.
So when going to BlizzCon last year, with every ticket you got this little Overwatch medallion, and on the back says "Live with honor, die with glory." So heads
Flip
is
it into my hands
so
over here?
heads. No. I'm doing this for the lulls.
Oh God! Right on the keyboard.
Heads is the Overwatch logo. Tails is "Live with honor, die with glory." Heads is going to be Boston. Tails is going to be Chengdu.
Alrighty. This is why I said do it into my hands, you nerd.
Okay, so it's heads. I'm voting for Boston.
I'm still voting for Chengdu. Because we can't not chaos.
Yes.
That basically was chaos. If you were going to do that, you should have just voted for Chengdu anyway.
Fair enough.
Chaos for days. But you chose Boston. Or the floor chose Boston.
Cut to that one Vine. But you didn't.
Surprise, motherfucker. Different Vine, don't care. Yeah. Good Lord, that was a thing.
Yeah. I am sweating so much right now.
It's heat wave time out here in LA. It's very fun. We love you all. We love you enough to turn the fan off for an hour and a half.
Yes. Which y'all motherfuckers better appreciate that.
People in Australia are like, bitch, it's winter.
People in Australia, fuck you.
People in Australia, enjoy your winter.
Yes.
We will enjoy our sweaters while you are sweating.
I miss having seasons.
Seasons are overrated.
Fucking lies. Anyway.
You ever lived in Minnesota? The seasons are winter and road under construction.
I lived in Ithaca in the middle of the Finger Lakes.
Woof. Same. So, basically the same.
Yes.
All right. I think, that's all we have. 3 weeks worth of Overwatch and a shit ton of predictions.
And then 10 minutes of angry shouting.
Yeah, but the only difference there is that you provided it this time.
Yeah.
I usually do.
Yeah, it's a change of pace, isn't it?
It is. It really is.
Yeah.
Good times, great oldies. Anyway, where can the people find you?
At the _rage_nerd on Twitter, and at Overwatch Pretenders, the learning-based league for people from like silver to diamond. We got 2 different divisions. I'm no longer the main tank for Mercury Cougars. I am now the main tank for a new team called Decima. With Sid.
Decima?
Yes.
Huh.
With Sid, who was on the podcast previously. Yeah, check it out. Our new season starts on August 4th. But get involved, play some pugs, see if you can join one of the teams, upper division or lower division, whatever matches your skill level. It's a great place to learn, play in an organized environment that doesn't have the bullshit of just playing ranked. It's fun. Try it.
Well, thanks to my Patreon, I have finally obtained a gaming laptop.
My God.
Thanks to that continued support, which I have been saving up over the past year, I might actually finally have a rig, so I might actually be able to play. Holy shit.
My God.
So I might be streaming and playing Overwatch at the same time. I currently can barely do either.
Holy shit.
So, I'm Katie. Follow me all over the social medias, as well as on YouTube and Twitch, at Kiaxet. That is Kiaxet. I am also on a fucking slew of other things. I am on the Silver Screams YouTube channel where my roommate and I talk about horror movies, and we're going to start talking about the Scream miniseries that just dropped. So that's going to be fun. And we've been doing a shit ton of Attack on Titan there, so check all that out.
If you ever watch John Carpenter's The Thing, you better have me on for that.
You say that like I would ever watch John Carpenter's The Thing.
It's a really good movie.
I'm not saying it's not a good movie. I'm saying I can't handle it.
Fair enough.
That's what Megan does. She watches that. I just watch the kill count for it. Because 20-minute summary done by James A. Janice is about what I can handle in my horror. I say this as a co-host of a horror channel. Anyway, I am also on the Rooster Team, which does a slew of Rooster Teeth-related podcasts. We are currently doing the Camp Counselor's Corner, which is a Camp after show. So, all of that is on Anchor.fm, as is this podcast. Search for it, support us through Anchor, all that fun shit. And, of course, supporting our sponsor supports us. So head over to fredsbs.com, fredsbs.com, and use coupon code ONTHEPOINT for 20% off your entire order. Get you some cookies. Enjoy the bye week. Stare forward at Thursday with us as we wonder in utter trepidation as to whether or not Overwatch League will have the fucking table flipped on it. And I think we're good. Yeah?
Yeah, I think so.
All right. I would say let's C9, but I think we need to festive this up a little bit. There's no good Vancouver joke for this, goddammit. I was going to say let's Shang 9, but Shanghai won.
Yeah, they did.
Fuckity bye. I love you guys. Let's C9.